Robert Jenrick has just announced that Reform UK will entirely reinstate the two-child benefit limit. This is set to push thousands of children into poverty.
As a signal of intent today, Reform is changing our policy on the two-child cap for universal credit. The policy was well-meaning. We want to help British working families to have more children. But right now, we just can't afford to do so with welfare. So it has to go. As Reform's Shadow Chancellor, I'm ending it. A Reform government will restore the cap in full. We are the party of alarm clock Britain. We are a party of workers and not welfare.
Keir Starmer has hit out at the decision. He has said that Reform's decision to reinstate it if they get elected is shameful. So this is a decision that has been made by Robert Jenrick. Yeah, remember him. He was previously a Tory minister.
I haven't been back here in 20 years, at least. It hasn't changed that much. I used to do my homework in the office up there. We didn't have a computer at home. No computer at home, try telling that to my girls. And on Saturdays, my sister and I used to clean the brass on the frets, and we used to smell of Brasso all weekend.
So Robert Jenrick has been appointed Shadow Chancellor by Nigel Farage. Now, he's not actually a Shadow Chancellor because Shadow Cabinet roles are held by the Conservative Party because they're the official opposition in Parliament. But in his Shadow Chancellor role, he's announced that he will reinstate the two-child benefit limit. So that means that families who have a third child or more will not be able to claim child benefits for those children. Now, Keir Starmer announced that he was going to lift that cap. So it's in the process of happening now. It was a previous Tory policy that came in some years ago. So by reinstating the cap, Robert Jenrick is going to push thousands of people into poverty.
We're saying we're going to bring forward serious welfare reforms, not the ones that were written on the back of a fag packet by the Conservative Party in opposition a few months ago, but detailed ones. And we're prepared to take on difficult things, to think again sometimes, like I said today, where we've chosen to say we'll bring back the two-child benefit cap in full. Not that our previous policy wasn't well meant. Of course we want to help British workers to have families. But we're also aware that we've got to live within our means and we've got to find ways other than welfare to help to support them to fulfil their dreams.
Actually, in his press conference, he attacked the Tories quite a lot, despite serving in consecutive Conservative governments.
The root of many of our problems is this. Successive governments have taken more and more of people's money, and they've wasted it. They've sprayed it around with no regard for how hard they've worked for it or their own priorities. They say that your money is needed for the NHS, for the police, for the armed forces, for the vulnerable. But more and more often, it's not going to them.
He also attacked Liz Truss.
We have seen what happens when this economic rule is ignored and fiscal discipline is thrown out of the window. Liz Truss went down the path of wild spending splurges alongside big tax cuts. The result was chaos. Mortgage payments soared. Working people suffered. Today, I give you my word that a Reform government will never play fast and loose with your savings.
You talked about the chaos that Liz Truss unleashed. So why didn't you resign from her front bench while she was doing it instead?
Well, I did resign from one Conservative government. I can't resign all the time.
Well, you could. If you really disagreed with the economic policies, why did you sit quietly there?
Well, I did, if I can say that, I didn't sit quietly, as it so happens, as I think it's the book that Jeremy Hunt wrote will record, that I phoned him up the weekend he became the Chancellor, told him exactly what I thought were the problems with the mini-budget and told him to reverse all of it. And he records that me and one other Conservative did that. So I made my views pretty clear at the time. And if I may say so, when I was standing to be leader of the Conservative Party, I was the only person who said that I thought that mini-budget was careless and cack-handed. And I've also pretty clearly said that I'm surprised that Liz Truss is still a member of the Conservative Party, but that's not my problem now, as they say.
At the end of the press conference, I asked him whether he was comfortable with this and what was his actual plan for pulling kids out of poverty.
And then lastly, but not least, we have Sophie from the Daily Mirror.
If you restore the two-child benefit limit, are you comfortable with plunging hundreds of thousands of kids into poverty? And what is your plan to tackle the 4.5 million children in poverty?
Well, it's not about that. Of course we care about ensuring that people can have kids and those kids can lead fulfilling lives. We can't just do that by spending more and more on benefits. The country is going to go bankrupt. That is the course we're currently on. So someone has to instill some realism into this debate, and that is what we're going to do. We're going to get the benefits bill down. We're going to do so fairly, with concern for the genuinely vulnerable, but we are going to get it down, because there's no alternative. And we're going to find other ways in which we can support families and working people, like building some more homes, for example, like getting some good jobs going again, like bringing down people's bills with a different energy policy. This is going to be our approach, but if you think that we can just keep going on like Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves is, weekly, increasing the benefits bill, then you're on a course to bankruptcy. And Reform are not going to allow that to happen.
Lots of people on the right make the argument that, well, people shouldn't have children if they can't afford it. But what about a mum who has 3 kids, has a job, has a husband who has a job, and the husband passes away, the mum is left by herself, suddenly her economic situation has changed, and she is punished because she has 3 children, even though she had those 3 children when she had more money. Now, that is an argument that Rachel Reeves has made. This is about fairness in the system. And there are vulnerable kids who are now going to have their families get more benefits under the Labour government that could then have them taken away and be plunged back into poverty under Reform UK.
We will reinstate in-person assessments and require clinical diagnosis to weed out those who are choosing a life on benefits. We will end the abuse of the Motability scheme, where expensive cars are handed out for conditions like tennis elbow and paid for by working people who could never afford those same cars themselves. And we will make sure that only British nationals can claim benefits in the first place.
So after the press conference with Robert Jenrick, reporters got the chance to ask Nigel Farage some questions off camera. I asked him whether it was Robert Jenrick's decision to reinstate the two-child benefit limit, considering Nigel Farage had previously said that he wanted to get rid of it. He basically said, well, actually, let's not get confused. I said that I only wanted to get rid of it for British families. And even when I said that, I was branded a socialist and I had a huge backlash. It backfired in the Tory press. Any time you try and do something pro-family, you get a backlash for it. So it was essentially saying that the backlash and the backfiring of his policy from the Conservative press had led him to change his mind. He was also asked whether this was a U-turn, to which he said, oh, well, no, it's only a minor U-turn because it was only for British families, and actually it wasn't going to cost that much anyway. So the whole thing is basically a total mess. But I think what we have to remember at the heart of this is there are vulnerable children out there whose fault it isn't that their parents cannot afford essentials for them